So we live in a community by the sea, affected like everybody by the COVID. But I am not going to let that be my identity, because I can think of 19 ideas to refreshen me. So we can raise like a phoenix coming out of the sea. So listen as I unfold those ideas in front of me, like searching for some commonality, seizing this as a new opportunity for working on our sobriety, connecting with our friends and our family, seeing that we already had all we needed to be free, that gratitude is an attitude, and realizing it was fear and propaganda confusing the society. Start believing in a higher power greater than thee. Make a fearless and moral inventory. See that reflection and meditation can start to ground thee. Question the so-called normality. Understand that we are part of the problem and this is part of the singularity. But be weary of the agenda of the technocracy. There may be chaos and complexity, but the solution is simple and easy. We had to disconnect to reconnect. Isolation was the time for the analysis of the me. Finally, humanity's humble humility. For taking the first footstep is the start of a 1,000-mile journey. Because at any time, we can start a new reality. So come along and say with me, I live in a community by the sea, affected like everybody by the COVID. But I'm not going to let that be my identity, because I can contemplate 19 ideas to refreshen me, so we can raise like a phoenix coming out of the sea.
Kettle on. First fag of the day. Where to take the dog later? It's another warm one. What do I have for dinner? Actually have a choice. What with my weekly shopping trip and well-stocked fridge, rather than the usual ad hoc cold bready meal? Right. Better check the WhatsApp messages, get the laptop up and running, make those phone calls before the Zoom meeting. Another coffee first, and a quick scan of the Facebook rants. Okay, email time, or is it hammer time? Really should turn off the radio when I make those phone calls. Type, ring, zoom, missed call while making a cuppa, unknown number. Okay, time to switch off. Close the laptop and try and shut down my head. What needs doing? Washing up, hoovering, laundrette, God, a numbass. Have I been sitting here that long? Head's a mess. They've changed the guidance again. How does that relate to us? What am I going to have for dinner? Did I phone that person back again? Damn, didn't check to see if that funny was in. Well, shut your mouth. Right. Dog. Let's get up the hill. Rattling head flitting like a coaked up butterfly. I better step into the road. They're not going to give way on the pavement. You're welcome. How about you look up from your phone for 5 seconds to say a courteous thank you? Bloody youngsters, where's their manners? At last, greenness. I walk and sit by the little copse. Let the dog sniff around the rabbit brambles. Soothe my head. Is that a skylark? And another. And another. So small, bursting with song, climbing higher and higher into the bluest of skies, replacing that din in my head with the sweetest of melodies, filling the purple-shaped holes with infusing my heart with the simplest of joys, taking my woes and madness, the weight of the day, high up into that calm, eternal blue sky. Thank you, little friends. Thank you. I think I'll let pot noodle and trifle for my tea.
As Mental Health Awareness Month is now over, what better time to vent about C19 than right now? So let's cut to the chase. Lockdown. The pros. I'm enjoying it far more than I should. The reason being, I appreciate people a lot more. Now I don't have to be around them so much. Joking aside, I am doing things I couldn't do in the old normal. For example, being a part of Terminal Uniqueness was due to Corona, putting a stop to it, as it did practically everything in 2020. The year the earth stood still. Only it didn't. If you look up in the sky, the only thing missing is the vapor trails. Everything else is still flying and twinkling and buzzing and chirping and growing. Earth is fine. In fact, it's in better shape now than it has been for a long time. It's humanity that's changed. For the better or for the worse? Well, that's up to us, isn't it? I mean, we may all be in the same boat, but we all do things our way. We are the captain, the crew, the navigator, the subordinates, the stowaways, and the overseers. and we're all trying to make it work. I even tolerated, to some extent, the mutineers. After all, it is their way of dealing with this craziness, but enough is enough. The cons. Well, apart from the stuff that's going around at the moment, the only thing that is boiling my pee at present is trivial and petty in comparison. Things like judges on talent shows that refer to tenors or sopranos as opera singers. If they were, then they would be in La Traviata or the Magic Flute or something, not on Britain's Got Talent. And don't get me started on O Fortuna. It is not the theme from The Omen, Simon. Jerry Goldsmith wrote that. Carl Orff wrote O Fortuna. To be fair, though, there's only been one incident during lockdown when salty tears were shed, and that was mid-May. For a couple of days we lost our electricity due to a faulty boiler. Then my dog ate herself poisoned when she munched through half a bar of Cadbury's fruit and nut on our walk. An emergency call for detox at our blood-sucking vets. And then later, carrying her home, a top half caked in vomit, the bottom half slimy with diarrhea. And bathing her in cold water was no picnic either. But she was alive. By the way, did you know the anagram for salty tear is stay alert? Which brings me to the new normal and my newfound guilty pleasure, which is gardening, along with Spotify, anagrams, and strawberry-flavoured chewing gum. Yum. I'm having the time of my life, giving my lawn a right seeing to. I'm loving it. Which finally brings me to the final anagram. Did you know that the new normal is the lawn or men? Frankly, I'm so knackered by the time I finish the lawn, I've got no energy for anything else. So I guess that answers that question. Ta-ta!
Nothing is normal. Now we are all vulnerable. But do they know? No, how could they possibly know? How could they know that when nothing was left to help me stop killing myself with substances, all I had was the memory of a coffee shop in Brighton. Cascade, where lives are saved. Where I could write poems and play guitar, sing songs and experiment with art. I put out my pencil, picked up my stencil, and that is what kept me alive. I know how they helped me combat my disease. And yet, now I don't know if I'll survive. Because there's a new disease, COVID-19, and none of us know what the hell it means. Waging war on practically everybody, saying feed me, feed me, feed me your body. For those who suffer financial distress, I feel sorry. All my life I wanted to work a normal job. Now the virus has thrown us all. Nothing is normal, no nothing at all. Making a comeback from a massive relapse to vicious threats coming from the political administration, elected to manage the affairs of the nation. They have the power to treat me like a virus. Who will ever know that this gift I have for poetry and art supported me and others from the grips of a life or death situation? Even when I'm locked down and in self-isolation, I'm a vulnerable person, living in vulnerable housing. So I don't need to say too much about how isolated I feel. I'm sure you can imagine. But do you know, really know, what isolation means to an addict? Risk of relapse, bullying and violence, daily temptation and suffering in silence. So I hope you can understand what the future looks like to me. A desperate vacuum of uncertainty. I mean, what are they going to do if they find a new cure? Most likely, we'll all hop back in our cars, get back to our clubs and bars, having said goodbye to the birds singing in the trees, celebrating our chemical solution. We'll take a last precious gulp of pure fresh air and kill off the rest of the population with carbon pollution.
Brilliant. Okay, rolling. And action.
Love in the time of Corona, 100 Days of Solitude. The homeless, that was the first time change had come. You could sense the fear. Lockdown meant fewer people out there to collect survival money from. Plus, now if the homeless accepted money, they risked contracting the virus. Then, all of a sudden, the homeless were housed, albeit temporarily. It turns out there's no need for anyone to sleep on the streets. There are enough resources. Imagine that, a virus to end homelessness. Meanwhile, shopping chaos began. It started with a 9-pack of toilet roll. Barry from Wigan, out for his weekly shop, found that the usual 4-pack of toilet roll was sold out. So he reached for a 9-pack, being the only size choice left. At that exact moment, Chris, a key worker in a local rehab facility, doing the bi-weekly shop for his 42 residents, filled his cart with 168 toilet rolls, as was his norm. Doris, observing these two strangers, presumed they'd begun stockpiling toilet paper. Panicked, she bought 36 rolls. Thus the toilet paper shortage of 2020 ensued, which led to the consummation debacle. Previously ordinary items like beans, rice, tuna, flour and yeast suddenly became super desirable. Fucking yeast! Suddenly, everyone was an accomplished baker. Sourdough starters the most googled topic. They called it Doverkill. Temporary insanity spread quicker than the virus. Entire supermarket shelves were stripped of their wares. Their staff were elevated to the status of frontline workers by the media and government. Sadly, some abused supermarket staff, purposely spitting and coughing in their direction. Others completely ignored socially distancing advice, railing against having their civil liberties infringed upon. Others claimed it all as a conspiracy. Whilst most countries used strict lockdown measures to stop the spread, we took months to get to that point. Months. It was called COVID-19 because it started in 2019. The UK didn't start lockdown until March 2020. Meanwhile, America had its own issues, as their idiot-in-chief touted snake oil remedies, causing some of his followers to ingest bleach. Our Prime Minister allegedly caught the virus and praised the NHS for saving his life. The same NHS that his party had been surreptitiously dismantling for years. It felt disingenuous to me, as did the much promoted Thursday night clapathon for NHS staff. The same NHS who was sorely lacking PPE protection and whose pay was a national disgrace. The media was flooded with celebratory tales of a 99-year-old captain who walked laps of his garden raising over 30 million for the NHS. When did this taxpayer-funded institution suddenly become a charity? Few suffered more than the frontline workers, nurses and palliative carers who sat with the dying as their loved ones were not allowed to be there. These key workers struggled to access testing to protect their own loved ones. The media really started to piss me off. People believed they had volunteered for the national good, but no system was ever put in place to implement this. There was no point seeking help from one of the hundreds of thousands of volunteer citizens that the media loved praising. Domestic abuse hotlines rang red. It turns out being under lockdown with your abuser is a recipe for disaster. How did it impact sex workers, I wondered? Reports of sexual harassment on the streets rose, as did the vulnerability of girls and women, the lack of witnesses, causing a rise in the confidence of incels and perverts. What about the poor parents at this time, I wondered? Children lost their collective shit. Try telling a child to stay in the house indefinitely. No thank you. And still the children drew rainbows for windows and wrote letters to elderly neighbours. We all came together, the local community, to defeat the virus. We religiously washed our hands as though it was a ceremony, but we still couldn't stop touching our stupid face. We went from feeling like we could beat it to the feeling like it could beat us. They called it the Corona Coaster. Finally, Earth responded to our silence. With flights cancelled and cars gathering dust on driveways, the ozone layer began to heal. The air was cleaner. Delhi could be seen again and skylines around the world shed their veils of smog and revealed their silhouettes. This is what I loved about the virus, us shutting up and letting the earth breathe for a minute. Factory production was shut down and oil was stockpiling to the point of financial ruin for some oligarchs. Didn't. Hitherto, unseen animals started to reappear in villages across England and Wales. The canals in Venice were the cleanest they'd been in years. Birdsong usurped the role of heavy traffic in the mornings, and were all calm to some degree. Has this been the calm before the storm? Will the second wave be worse like the Spanish flu's second wave, which dwarfed its first wave? Is now the time to get complacent with our response? Only time will tell for those of us who'll survive. To be continued. Or not.
Do you like the van? Social distancing. Social distancing, are you listening? 2 meters apart. 3 if you're smart. It's become the new art. Social space for me and you. Walking on the roads, no more than 2. I hope you all will comply, so that coronavirus soon shall die. Only go out for meds or food, and if you do, it will be so good. As I wear my mask and my gloves, I wonder if it's in the air above. Social distancing, Are you listening? No one's left upon our lands, 'cause everybody's rushing to wash their hands. 20 seconds is what it's taking. Outside the supermarket, big queues waiting. Pubs and cafes, they're all shut. So I'm sitting here on my butt. Social distancing, are you listening? Do not cough in public or there'll be panic. God, it really is getting so manic. Exercising for a very short time, or they'll say that it's a crime. So from now on, you gotta stay at home. And if you die alone. Social distancing, it's no hoot. I'm tearing my hair out by the roots. What's gonna happen when this all ends? I think I'll end up with no friends. All this caper is driving me mad. I think I'll social distance home to my pad. Social distancing, are you listening?
Greetings to you all. At this very difficult time, it is my duty as your sovereign to address you, my subjects, in the desire to be of service and to bring us closer together. COVID-19 has separated us all. Perhaps, like me, you have been unable to be visited by your children or your grandchildren. And perhaps, like me, you are delighted by this outcome. No more do you have to listen to their whinging and their whining and their complaining. Their pathetic excuses, and in the case of one of my grandsons and his new foreign wife, their ingratitude. To quote a friend, it is indeed ingratos bastardo. COVID-19 has indeed separated us all. And yet, through the use of modern technology, we have become closer. It is now possible to communicate with people all across the world. I would therefore like to share with you a new strategy that I have found myself working quite well. If a person is talking to you and they become particularly tiresome, for instance, prime ministers or grandchildren in Canada complaining about having to pay for their own security, one can simply pretend that one's internet connection is unstable. One could simply a disjointed manner before saying sorry and then exiting the meeting. Then one can relax with a nice cup of Darjeeling or a packet of Royal Darchie shortbread. Many of you in your houses and your council flats and bedsits may be remunerating that it's all very well for me out here at Windsor Castle, surrounded by 13 acres of park. I can assure you that I too am finding this very difficult. We now have a staff of just 100 people, and the rest are being put onto furlough. Let me tell you, getting dressed and getting undressed has been particularly difficult. Having one's meals served to one while trying to maintain a 2-meter distance has been quite impossible. Like countless others, we too have been trying to locate PPE. Especially, it's very tiresome. Fortunately, though, at Windsor, we do have old suits of armour, which the staff have been taking kindly to wearing around the house. Although one has to admit that the clanking and the creaking has been a strain on one's nerves. One has also been in lockdown with Philip, and although Windsor contains thousands of rooms, one keeps bumping into him. The guards have particularly difficult time chasing him around in his Land Rover and preventing him from taking down the G5 network. As a precaution, we've had to lock the gun cabinet. I have also had to lock the drinks cabinet. As a guard has said, he is a proper penis in the anus. As we settle down to watch Making of a Murderer, we can rest assured that no matter how bad things can get, we British are no way near as fucked up as the Americans. I bid you all farewell, please stay safe, and good luck.
In-breathing, assimilating, expanding, projecting. How amazing looks our city and seafront, completely uncluttered and clear. We can be at one with nature, truly an experience to hold dear. People dotted about, both casual and purposeful. Perhaps they're perceiving spaciousness and freedom so that our inner and outer life is meaningful. In-breathing, assimilating, expanding, projecting. You'll now see me hugging trees and blowing kisses to bumblebees, hands moulding compost, creating a patio medley, voila, courgettes, tomatoes, and edible weeds that are tasty. Relaxing deeply into Mother Nature is transforming our personalities. as we minimise our distractions and needless technicalities. In-breathing, assimilating, expanding, projecting. Our strength lies in simplicity, opening our hearts to listen to the rhythm of the earth that breathes us, so that our soul's light can glisten. We've been gifted the opportunity to take a lighter view, recalibrate, let go, find peace and fulfillment in a new me and you. In-breathing, assimilating, expanding, projecting. Personally, my strength lies in my vulnerability, one and the same, like neighbouring waves in the sea. When my mind, like tree branches, oscillates chaotically, the roots of this Helen tree now lies deeper in love, peace and harmony. In-breathing, assimilating, expanding, projecting.
Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday, dear Ralphie. Happy birthday to me. Well, no cake from me this year, old boy. No one to celebrate with. Can't even go down the cafe for my birthday lunch. I would have had something special. Maybe scampi and chips. Kim behind the counter made a big fuss of us last year, didn't she, boy? You got a free sausage and I got a nice slice of cake on the house. It's funny to imagine her thinking of us. She's got a big family to care for. She's not a lonely old codger like me. No offence, boy, but you're not exactly the gift-giving type, are you, huh? Today will be just like any other day. Day 78 of lockdown. Not exactly a birthday kind of day. Another time for whimsy and parties. Terrified for Clive. I've been hearing about all that stuff that's going on in the care homes. It's not good news. It's terrible. A bloody mess. The neighbours, though, have been marvellous. It's amazing what they do. It's amazing to think that they can, all my groceries and everything are delivered to the door, so I don't have to go to the shops. They're lovely, all of them. Maybe I should have told them about my birthday. Maybe they would have made a fuss. Maybe I forgot a cake. But I don't want to drag them into it. Just because I haven't got a family. I don't feel obliged. I don't like it when that happens. People change. They treat you differently. Calm down, boy. So did the postman. Will your feud with the postman never end? Oh, look, Frank. I've got a card. Let's see who it's from, shall we? Oh, Kim. You angel. All right, boy. Let's go into the gardens. But the lead's going on till I can find that the gate has been shut. Oh, nearly forgot my mask.
I feel more in touch with nature now. I spend long solitary days walking the South Downs and reading books. I have a hot bath every day and listen to music more. The rushaboutness has gone from my life for now, and I like it. I am 5 months and 10 days sober today, free of weed. I used to smoke 17 joints a day, every day, from the moment I got up until I went to bed, for years. My sobriety is stronger in lockdown. But I miss my family. My little niece Emma running up to me and cuddling me, visiting my brothers, visiting my mum. It's easier to eat less crisps when I see less of them though. And I know now that if I start binging on any kind of junk food, I get close to relapse on weed. These things are all linked for me. What strange creatures human beings are. I went to Seaford Beach the other day and it was so beautiful. I sat on a towel and laid warm stones on my bare legs. It reminded me of a hot stone massage I'd had years ago. Everything was glistening beautifully in the sun. I went in to the ice-cold, breathless sea. The little things are even more wonderful now that they're rare. Even going into Sainsbury's in New Haven was a treat. The choice was dazzling. I do worry though about little Emma and her brother James. They're growing up to keep a distance from people. Will this be something that becomes a part of them, that they can't change later on? How many people will lose their homes because they can't afford their rent or their mortgage? My brother has lost his business. But he's a survivor, as am I. If he loses his flat, he can come and stay in my flat. He won't be homeless. We will survive. I hope to do more than survive. I hope to thrive. It is wonderful being a sober, healthy woman again. Just for today. I think the new normal will be a slowed down, less crowded, socially distanced version of our old lives. It's better for the planet if we all stay where we are most of the time. Maybe we'll all know what matters more. People. People matter. Family and friends. Good health. Green spaces. Time to oneself. These are the things that matter. A roof over your head, food in the cupboards, good books to read, music to dance and sing to, and a comfortable bed. These are the things that matter.
of truths. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
What I mean by that is I've sought the truth. I just haven't necessarily found the truth, because there's lots of truths and truth is quite complex. During this coronavirus time, that's been particularly challenging for me to try and find what is the truth. Do I listen to the news on TV? Do I go to the government and listen to them? Do I, listen to Facebook? The point is, I don't know what the truth is.
Do you know how contagious the virus is and how it's spread?
Yes, because I read that up, and it's a molecule. So the virus is a molecule that's airborne. It ends up on surfaces and it can stay there and for a while so it's highly contagious.
Do you think the government are exploiting this current situation?
I'm worried that they are. I've heard that they're passing bills without us hearing about it through Parliament, and I am worried about how they'll use the track and trace, the extra surveillance, how they might change police powers. So I am worried about that.
Do you think it's a threat to our civil liberties?
Yes, I do. But no matter what government or lawmakers do, people will always go to the street to protest injustices, and they will march for equal rights. And I mean, look what happened in that lockdown with the Black Lives Matters marches. Those people had to weigh up the risk of catching and spreading the virus against the risk of not speaking out. So for one example that I liked in Bristol, where I used to live, they pulled down the Colston statue and threw it in the water. And I was just like, yes, that's brilliant.
Do you think that this virus affects some people more than others?
Well, effects. I could tell you health things that make some people more vulnerable to it or more vulnerable to not survive it. But on the whole, if I think of health, social and economic factors, to sum it up, I would say, yes, it affects the poor more.
Do you think some people might profit from these times?
Yes, there's quite a few on my list, but pharmaceutical companies come straight to mind because they've always profited from this kind of thing.
Is the vaccine a good thing?
Okay, I know there's a lot of controversy about vaccines, but I personally would take it if there was one.
Will this coronavirus go away?
Again, I don't know. I've heard it could be here for months, even years, because there is another pandemic virus out there, and it's called the HIV virus, and it's been with us for 40 years. And still, I was reading the other day that there's a lot of people that still don't have access to the medication for that virus.
How are you feeling?
Well, my truth is I'm really scared. I'm scared I don't know what's happening. I'm scared I don't know what's going to happen. I got scared when I got sent texts and letters from the NHS telling me to shield and stay in. I'm scared I'm going to catch this virus. I'm scared that I wouldn't recover from it if I did catch it. And then fear is a massive trigger for me, and I ended up picking up alcohol on it. Then that scared me even more, so then I put it back down again, because I'm actually really lucky. I've got the support of this amazing recovery community in Brighton, and this Coronalogues project by Cascade has actually really kept me connected, and I even use the other Zoom groups that Cascade offer, and that whole thing, feeling connected, has helped me keep motivated. It's helped me feel less alone. It's helped me feel less scared. So, big love and respect and thanks, Cascade.
Yeah, but I will take my mask off to speak. That's better. That's better. I don't know. I mean, the way the media coverage was in the beginning, it was like I could imagine a world where people were dying in the streets, coughing and spluttering their last breaths right in front of you. I mean, I know people have died, thousands in fact. But it's like they were spreading fear, like they knew something more. Like for real, a chemical weapon had been released. It was like there was this virus with hooks. It was like it had eyes, and it was just hovering around in the air, just waiting to pounce. There was so much speculation as we moved into uncertain times. There were sayings developing we'd never even thought of before, like social distancing, flattening the curve like it was a diet of quarantine, self-imposed quarantine, health over privacy, monitoring. It was like Big Brother on crack. A landscape of Zoom and gloom lay ahead of us. Dunno. Maybe a new normal will materialise, where we're so masked up and hidden from view, we'll have to dance to communicate, making shapes in space to express how we feel. I kind of like the idea of that. A world filled with charades, a quirky sign language might develop, a post-quarantine view. Our psychic skills might develop as we move out of the third dimension into a greater metaphysical presence. Now that really does sound cool. Instead of a hug, we'll have to play our friends a song on our phones to convey how we feel. We'll make shapes in space, shuffle our feet and flail our arms whilst remaining masked. I had to go to Aldi this morning. I'm having to shop in bulk now when I can, because everything these days is so drawn out. It's not like before. Before, you could nip to the shops, grab a few bits and get home again, no problem. Now, you must queue. You buy what you can and lug it home again best way you can. It's like you weigh up your options, if you know what I mean. Do I risk the bus? Can I afford a cab? Do I dare to take a cab? Do I nick a trolley and push 2 weeks of shopping home again? I nicked a trolley today. Anyway, when I get home, I feel like I need to take the precaution of disinfecting everything before I put it in the cupboard. And then I feel like I've got to change my clothes and wash the floors, and I'm exhausted after all of that. I don't know what it means as the pandemic pans out. I suppose we'll have to zip up and mask up to the new world view. It is a new world view.
Our government was told on the 11th of February that action was needed urgently. Our PM said that we should all wash our hands and go about our normal lives. Yeah, Uncle Boris knows best. Apparently there's an organisation called the Global Health Security Index, which last year ranked nations on their readiness for pandemics. Who was top? Would you believe the United States? Who finished second? Would you believe the United Kingdom? So, either these two countries were lying, or they hadn't got any solution. Compare this with South Korea. South Korea put it into action in February. They have only 263 deaths. Now, care homes. Care homes seem to have been treated as places for hospitals to put their discharged patients without any virus treatment. And the PPE supply has been slow coming to hospitals. That's causing even more problems for the care homes. And what about schools? Sixth formers, for example. What are they doing in their classes? Are they doing their exams? What about primary teachers? The majority of those are younger women and less likely to be getting ill. But should we be risking their lives in this way? Now, Italy and Spain have the similar death figures to the United Kingdom. They are not opening their schools until September. I wonder, are there any positives? Yes, I think so. I'm positive about the people in our hospitals. I'm positive people in care homes are getting paid ridiculous amounts of money for the work they do. These people make me happy that the human race is not turning into robots. And people in my street talk to each other a lot more than we used to, even at 2 meters apart. Yesterday I was talking to a lady. We were talking for 5 minutes, would you believe, about the colour and the hardness of bird shit on our car windows. When will it be normal again? For me, it won't be while the Tories are in power. All the time they're playing around with the National Health Service, bringing in private companies. They would like to see an American-style national service. If that happens, I tell you, I'll be marching again.
Clock ticks. Time twists and bends into a spiral. Floor is more appealing, and there is no measurable distance from the ceiling. The four walls bear down as laughter turns to frowns. A shivering mist rolls off the news channel, defecates in my ears, fills my mind with more and more fears. I turn away from the tube. and look to the ceiling once more. I feel my eyes could bore a hole if I just stared a little more. No routine. I feel the muscle in me lose its gleam. Eyes rock on the spot. Ghost town. Although summer's allowed, masks all over. Mine's black. I keep it in my drawer. I don't want to wear it. I think I shall face the spores. Out there on the horizon, the trees have turned green, unaffected by the new routine. 1 walk, 2 walk, 3 walks. We walk some more. Space and time bends. I feel my mind turn to times, good and bad, as memories scatter on the bridge of new beginnings. Will the bridge hold out? Will nature rule the day? Perhaps we will be forced to accept a new way. Space and time bends. I feel my mind turn to times, good and bad, as memories scatter on the bridge of new beginnings. Will the bridge hold out? Will nature rule the day? Perhaps we will be forced to accept a new way. The sun flickers and clicks its beams my way, and in this summer haze I dream of brighter days. Funny how in these times I do not accept the zombie notion, but rather I dance on no commotion. The poems come with a sense of ease as we leave the smoke and instead choose trees. What is normal in this ever-changing kaleidoscopic land? It feels like there are 2 worlds now. It was not always so divided. The masks seem to be a metaphor for the barrier which is forming. If you don't wear a mask, you might just die. That's not very fair, it would seem.
Oh, knee's not too bad today, thanks, Eddie. Managed to walk to the park and back yesterday. It's the furthest I've been for a while. yes, well, next week could be very different. It's good to talk, Eddie. It was great seeing everyone from the Silver Strings Choir on Zoom the other day. Yes, singing and playing with them. It's amazing, isn't it, this technology, really? I mean, who would have thought it at our age? I've been really enjoying the Qi Gong exercises off the internet too. Oh, yes, and the peace and quiet. You know, if it wasn't for the sound of sirens and the news, it would some days be hard to believe there's anything wrong at all. Did you get that survey, Eddie? I was in between jigsaws. I thought I'd fill it in. Who makes up these questions? I don't know. Something positive and something negative, reflecting on the bigger picture of the pandemic, and then something or rather about vulnerabilities and making us stronger. What did you put? That's brilliant. But I don't think bats are like cigarettes. You could hardly put a health warning on bats. You know, eating these bats could be seriously bad for your health. What's that? Smoking them's even worse for your health. Oh dear, what are they like in China? Oh, you're finding that too? Yeah, when I went to the park, everyone was clearing out of my way. I felt like Moses parting the Dead Sea. Oh, well, I was a bit anxious for my birthday, but the phone didn't stop ringing. So many people wishing me well. Some of them I couldn't even remember their names. Oh, and the cakes people left. Oh no, Janet's been making protective masks and headgear. For so many people looking out for each other. Wonder if that'll continue after the lockdown's over. Yours too. Yes, my house has never been cleaner. Even my lodger's been having a clear out. He goes on about these conspiracy theories and G5. But thankfully, even as I told him once, I'm able to zone out to sounds I don't want to hear. What did you put for that last question? The new normal? We'll be seeing a lot less of each other. Yes, the masks, yes, of course, everyone will be wearing them. Of course, it'll be easier for bank robbers to move around unnoticed. Yes, your days of robbing banks have long gone too. Those were the days. Of course, when we book our summer holidays for next year, we're going to have to plan for a longer stretch away. You know, the first 2 weeks, they're going to keep us, like dogs in quarantine. Yes, they'll let us out once a day for walkies, but only on a lead. Well, don't you worry, Eddie, because you know what? We'll meet again, don't know where, don't... You there, Eddie? I haven't scared you off from my singing, have I? But maybe leave the whiskey out of your coffee during the daytime. You know how it can make you, well, you know. Right, well, yes, best be on with the day. Yeah, lots to do. Take care, Eddie. Oh, yes, and you.
COVID-19, a pandemic that cannot be seen, they say. But wait, what about the empty streets, ghostly parks, worrying hearts, empty pockets? 2 meters apart. We've got to lock it down. The media is sending me to the shops to bulk buy. Politicians telling me to stay at home and comply. When did the truth become a lie? Maybe it's my mind that needs to be sanitised. I mean, all this time on my mind is this underlying question that I just cannot hide from in this unprecedented time. Who is governing I? So I wake and I present myself with the option, or is it the solution or the problem? Are my four walls of self-isolation to become my asylum? In my pilgrimage from room to room, there I am with a toilet roll in each hand, as I stress at the daily deaths. My mind is becoming stretched, just like the NHS. This lockdown is becoming an infected overload. These colourless, gripping thoughts that I wish I could furlough. Then I remember, I'm the actor, the producer, and the director of my own next episode. No need for Wi-Fi when nature's my best download. And yet I sense this dividing connection, spanning from nation to nation. These times are real, like our planet needing to heal. If I look deeper, it's love that I feel. COVID-19. They say a pandemic that cannot be seen, but my inquiring mind has set me free from quarantine.
Pandemic engulfs the planet. Raise a scythe in hand. Death stalks once again. Fear and conspiracy theories all abound. Panic buy, loo roll and pasta shortages. Government guidelines unclear. Then lockdown. Homework, no unnecessary travel. Social distance, 2 meters apart. No trips to the shops. No bus rides into town. No coffee, cakes, sandwiches at street cafes. No cinema, theatres, clubs, bars or restaurants. No museums, galleries, pools, playgrounds. No parties, barbecues, anniversaries. 18ths, 21sts, weddings, christenings. No wakes. On Thursday, clap the key workers. Bake if you can find the flour. Garden if you have one, that is. Read Moby Dick, Toy Story, Lovecraft, Homer, Tennyson. Porn. Put on weight. Clothes don't fit. Can't afford new. Grey clouds surround. Jelly brain, treacle steps. Mind slips. Sanity hangs on a single thread. Each morning and night the same litany. I'm going mad! God save my sanity! Do not know what normal is anymore. Birdsong is clear. Air fume free. A new peace reigns. The world is in slumber. But one day we'll wake again. Maybe lessons learned. Not to take people for granted. Nature for granted. Not to crowd others. Give a little space. That nod and smile is like a kiss. Supermarket staff, bin men, cleaners, roadside sweepers, care workers are just as valuable as nurses, doctors, teachers, scientists, economists and politicians. Maybe a ray of hope. Maybe.
We flow together like an ocean, every low and every high. And I would have you anyway, dear.
Hi, sorry I'm late. My name's Richard Cummings. I want to explain to you all the reasons for my trip from Brighton to Carlisle on March the 31st. I would like to begin by acknowledging the huge sacrifices everyone has made in regards to COVID-19. I was concerned about my child because I was showing symptoms of COVID and I was unable to find suitable childcare in the Brighton area to protect him. I had drunk 2 bottles of wine and was feeling weird and ill and somewhat out of control. I decided to test my sobriety and eyesight by driving to Hastings. At no point did we, that is myself, wife and child, have any contact with any members of the public. We were stopped by a police officer who asked me if I had been drinking. I told him I had and that I wanted to check to see if I was pissed enough to drive. We arrived at Hastings and stumbled upon a castle or two. My wife told me that she thought it was safe enough to drive to Carlisle. So we drove back to Brighton, packed a bag and grabbed a couple of bottles of vodka. The only time we stopped was when my child wanted to go to the toilet. So we found some woods and had a much needed slash. After that, I cannot remember anything at all except waking up the next day with severe COVID-19 symptoms, such as a pounding headache, blurred vision, shaking and a dry mouth. I remedied this by having a hair of the dog several times. It is important for me to inform you that I intended to contact my female 20-year-old sponsor of my journey. However, she was on a massive bender and carrying out much needed Alcoholics Anonymous Step 13 work. I have been honest and feel much better that I've explained my actions to you. I believe that my explanation has demonstrated that you can trust me and I know what's best for you. I feel that in the future, I will continue to do what the fuck I want. Thank you.
The healer might come today. The healer might come and take. The healer might come and take away the pain. He might come and take it all away.
How do I feel? Fucking bored. Eating crisps, pushing my tummy looked like an ironing board. 45 minutes and still no writing started. My attitude stinks. Like my dog just farted. You know, people avoid me like the plague. Med's been up, so I'm feeling kind of vague. And patience is running low. I'm ready to blow. And I've started drinking. Judge away. On the positive, I've got a great tan. Don't love myself enough, so I need the approval of a man. A sad state to be in, but I guess it could be worse. At least my nan ain't getting rolled off in a hearse. How do you feel?
He might come and take it all away. The healer might bring the rain. The healer might leave you in a hurricane. Oh, but keep breathing on the pounding waves. It might come and take it all away. Ooh, away.